ultimately what my point is that I was mind blown finding out, understanding that there have been other cultures besides modern culture that have had enormous levels of mathematical sophistication, astronomical sophistication, and so forth, and yet they were able to obtain this sophistication through means other than the means that we use today and we expect to be used today to determine these things. And now we have leftovers from all these people. And especially in the last 50 years, half century or so, there's been a great popular interest in the brand of exotic India. And these texts and this thinking and this articulation has to be interpreted. And we're using interpretation systems of what they call hermeneutics that are not really applicable to the hermeneutics that were described by these people themselves thousands of years ago. This is the general point of this evening of what I want you to understand, so that when we start getting more specific with the elements of speech and with syllables and so forth, you're not tempted to try and go in this sort of modern fashion in determining meaning, but that you start expanding your minds, your consciousness, with concepts that have been used for thousands of years in many different cultures, concepts of analogy and resemblance, convenience, emulation, sympathy, these kinds of things which are not just cute literary devices. Maybe this is the main point, because you've heard of all these things, or some sort of references to metaphors and analogies and so forth. But what I'm saying to you is that these are not just cute literary devices, that these are actual devices that people were able to make very sophisticated mathematical and astronomical systems on. And so when we are into the cultures of the East, the culture of India, we have to understand that there's really a lot there, and to be tempted or influenced in any way to make these overgeneralized reductions of culture. I mean, you take the Rishi Garg. Do you think that he didn't associate the heavenly bodies with gods and goddesses and rishis and sort of individuals? Of course he did. He saw Jupiter as a god, Brihaspati. For sure he did. But did he have a comic book Disney understanding of that planet? No. He knew how far from Earth Jupiter was. He calculated it. Now, to put those two things together, sort of a deification of the universe, together with such sophisticated mathematical calculations that they couldn't be equaled until the 1930s, then we have a different situation there. And the whole idea of the personalities of nature, gods and goddesses and so forth, goes way beyond the Disney comic book version.
Babaji?
Yes, Michelle.
This just popped into my head as you were a resemblance. The convenience and reflection. I was thinking of something we've probably all experienced many, many times. I know I do all the time, where a thought of someone pops into my head. Maybe it was because I saw something and it reminded me of that person. Then they end up calling me on the phone. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like I see something, it reminds me of them, then they call me. Just seemingly out of the blue, they, so that, and there's that connection between, and they could be, could be my brother in California, just out of the blue, I'm thinking about him and seemingly no connection, and yet there's clearly a connection because I just thought of him and now he's calling me on the phone. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what I'd like to comment on that is that, yes, absolutely, I know what you're saying. It's happened to me many, many times, of course, as it's happened to all of you many times. This is only strange because we have accepted a specific model of the world that operates in a very specific way. And that's what makes it strange. You see, according to your education and according to your cultural discourse, it's not possible, really, for that to happen. Oh yes, well, you give it a category of coincidence or magic or whatever. There are categories, of course, that we create to place those things in. But the main thing I want to say is that it's only strange because of the particularฏิculture that we live in. In other cultures, it's not considered strange at all.
I think why I use that example is because more now, because of these conversations we're having, and especially today, do I understand that happens because of speech.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why. Like, I just had this huge aha of this happens, and it's because of speech.
Yeah.
There is no. I don't believe in coincidence, but I never felt the. Anyway, I don't even know how to articulate that the thought is speech, that the reflection is speech, and then the connection is speech, that it's all forms, you could say, of speech. That it's only because of speech that type of thing happens. Does that make any sense?
Well, I mean, I would go so far as to say it's only because of speech that everything happens.
Yes, but now I'm looking at it as like, oh, of course, the big aha. I'm having a huge aha moment.
But still, that doesn't mean that we take speech and place her on the altar and bow down and worship her. Yeah, we could do that also if we like. I'm not opposed to that, but the point here and the point of these sessions is that we want to know how that happens. and how we can engage that. It's not enough to just embrace the idea of that and reify or deify an idea, but is to start looking at the process and the application and the knowledge of that, and especially how that relates to the knowledge of ourselves, which is, as I said before, really what this whole thing is all about.